Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here from the KnifeCenter coming at you from my bunker, and today we're taking a look at two of the best EDC pocket knives that Benchmade has to offer. It's the classic Mini-Griptilian versus the newer Mini-Bugout. Let's check them out. Now the Mini-Griptilian, or the Mini-Grip, as we'll abbreviate it a little bit here, has for a long time been the small Benchmade of choice. It's got a sub 3-inch blade, so if you live in an area that has some knife length restrictions, this is a good size. But honestly, it's just a great size even if you don't live in any of those locations, because it's a fantastic, moderately sized EDC. I myself actually carried a Mini-Griptilian for a number of years as I was working in a different office before my time here at the KnifeCenter. And while I can say there were certain times where I might have wished I had a slightly larger blade, I was always able to get everything done that I needed to with that 3-inch length. Well, we've got a new challenger to the Mini-Griptilian, and it comes from Benchmade themselves. This is the new Mini-Bugout. And in keeping with the original mission of the first Bugout, the stated mission being ultralight backpacking use, although I'd say it's probably even more suited to EDC, you see that distilled into an even smaller and more lightweight design. Now the Mini-Bugout also has a blade length under 3 inches, so for that reason I know a lot of you guys have been asking how these two stacked up, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through kind of feature by feature and see how they stack up next to each other. Now a quick thing to note, of course the Griptilian has been around a long time and it's been one of Benchmade's most successful products, so there are a ton of different options available, although right now there's only a couple available on the Mini-Bugout. You've got this version here, as well as another that has an orange handle and a satin blade. So keep that in mind as we're talking about some of these things. So we'll start with the blades themselves, and of course the Mini-Grip has a few different shapes. You've got a sheep's foot, as well as a Tonto, and the drop point that I've got here. I'm going to stick to the drop point for the purposes of this comparison, since it compares more directly with the Mini-Bugout. Because that knife comes only in a drop point blade, and this one happens to be DLC coated, although as I said, there is a satin option available right now. Now you can also get a coating when it comes to the Mini-Griptilian, and you can also get it with partial serrations if that's your thing, and if it is, then the Mini-Griptilian is going to be your choice right off the bat. The steel on both though is S30V, so even though you have a smaller blade, you're still going to get a good amount of edge retention out of the steel. Now, as I said, they are both under that 3-inch mark, although when you actually add up just the sharpened edge, the Mini-Griptilian does have just a hair more. I'm talking like maybe a 1/16 of an inch or so, but in actual use, you're probably not going to notice that difference. What you are going to notice though, is that the Mini-Bugout is simply going to be a more efficient slicer right out of the box, and that's down to the edge geometry. For starters, the blade stock is thinner. It's only about 0.09 inches thick as opposed to 0.1 on the Mini-Griptilian. Now, that may not sound like much, but it is definitely visible to the naked eye. And then when you combine that with the high flat grind on the Mini-Bugout compared to the shorter flat grind or saber grind on the Mini-Griptilian, and it's no contest. The Mini-Bugout is simply going to slice more efficiently. On the other hand, that more stout blade profile is just one of a couple things that contribute to making the Mini-Griptilian feel a little more durable overall. And that feeling definitely carries through into the handles as well. The material they use here is Noril GTX, but we've got full inset liners to create a really strong foundation, and it makes this knife come in at about 2.8 ounces of weight. The Mini-Bugout though is more concerned about being even more lightweight. Now, even though the Mini-Griptilian is definitely not a boat anchor, it's going to carry very easily, the Mini-Bugout goes even further. It's only got a liner extending back towards this screw here in the middle of the handle, and they're using Grivery as the material here. Now, while you do give up a bit of rigidity because of that construction, the weight savings are impressive. We're at about 1.5 ounces, or just about half of what the Mini-Griptilian weighs. So even though the Mini-Griptilian could take a little bit more of a beating, these certainly are not heavy-duty knives by any stretch of the imagination, and the MO of the Bugout especially is being as lightweight as possible. Now, it's a cliche and I almost hate to use it, but I have to say it in this case. Clip this in your pocket and it will virtually disappear until you need it. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the handles. So even though both of these knives manage to have pretty much the same blade length, the Mini-Bugout manages to do it in an even more compact handle design. They've packaged things more efficiently. It's slimmer and shorter in pretty much any direction you look, but you've actually not given up any effective handle length when the blades are open. When I hold them up right here next to each other, you can kind of see that in the area that you're going to grip. And both of these knives give me about a 3.5 finger length grip for, again, my slightly larger hands though, so keep that in mind. Now the way they're able to do that is you've got a very simple and classic looking shape here. You've got a gentle curve here at the front, which allows your index finger to get closer to the heel of the edge on the blade than on the Mini-Griptilian. Because on that knife, you've got some jimping and a slightly more aggressive curve here. Now it does keep your hand a little bit farther away in the process, but you do get more of a finger guard in this case. So you have a little bit more protection if you are pushing this towards heavier uses. And again, given that this knife does feel a little heavier duty, I'm glad to see it on this design and not on the Mini-Bugout. Fun fact as an aside for the Mini-Bugout, when it is folded up, they've actually made it just small enough that it can fit inside of an Altoids tin. And again, given the original mission of the first Bugout, that it was catered towards ultralight campers, given the fact that some of the bushcraft weirdos out there like me enjoyed putting together small pocket survival kits in an Altoids tin, I think that was a really nice consideration for this mini version. Now when it comes to actually maneuvering these blades, both of them feel very agile and nimble. Not too much of a difference, honestly. They both feel really good when gripped in the fingertips like so. But when it comes down to what I call a gorilla grip, when you, instead of holding it in your fingertips, you move it back towards the main area of your hand and you really grip down when you're needing to push through some heavier material, the Mini-Griptilian does feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Now you may have thought that the slightly thicker handles and the little more contouring that are on here would make this the better choice, but some of those things that give you more traction in some of the less aggressive grips do kind of get a little bit pokey when you're gripping it like so. Both the traction down here because of the jimping and the thumb ramp, and even the pocket clip a little bit are creating some small hot spots for me. Now despite the Mini-Bugout being thinner, I actually find it more comfortable and still quite secure when doing that gorilla grip. Even the pocket clip doesn't get in the way for me. Now don't take any of that as me ragging on the Mini-Griptilian. Remember, I EDC'd one of these for many, many years and I wouldn't hesitate to do so again. But it's just something to keep in mind depending on how you think you're going to use your knife. Now, since I mentioned the pocket clips, let's talk about hardware a little bit. Now, the Mini-Griptilian comes with Benchmade's standard clip in their black oxide finish, which is definitely a lot better than the old painted finishes they used to offer on this knife. It's going to stand up better over time. In fact, you can see here on one of my old 154 cm full-size Griptilians that had that painted clip, it's going to chip off over time. That black oxide finish is going to stay looking better for longer. Now the Mini-Bugout also comes with a black oxide clip, but it's their folded over or their mini deep carry variety. They do have a larger deep carry clip available. But because of that folded over nature, it is going to sit deeper in the pocket and it's going to be more unobtrusive to outside observers as well. The hole patterns on both of these knives are the same though. I'll turn it over to the other side. It's a simple standard 3-hole pattern, so technically that does make these clips interchangeable, as well as giving you the opportunity to fit all kinds of aftermarket clips at the same time. Add to that the fact that you've got those holes on both sides of the knife, that means lefties can play very easily with these knives as well. As for other hardware, the Mini-Bugout has some standoffs, and in this case they're black to match the blade as well as the rest of the hardware. And because of that, we've got open-backed construction with this design, which is going to be a little bit easier to clean out than the closed-back construction of the Mini-Griptilian. All right, finally, the axis lock. We haven't actually talked about that locking mechanism yet, of course being the marquee crossbar lock system that was brought to market by Benchmade. Now, I've been a fan of this lock design for a long time. For one thing, it is very strong. It also lets you open and close the blade very quickly if you need to, and because that bar runs through both sides of the handles completely, it is a completely ambidextrous system. And when you throw those extra holes from the pocket clip there, they don't need to have lefty versions of their knives. Each one right out of the box is going to be great for left or right-handed use. But speaking of that speed, the action out of the box on these is great. You can certainly open them up with the thumb studs and it's very smooth, but you can also, simply by holding the lock bar back, give it a little bit of wrist action and you can flick the blade open and close very, very quickly indeed. I will say though that right out of the box, because of the little bit of extra weight to the blade of the Mini-Griptilian, the action is a little bit better. It flicks out a little bit easier with a little less effort required than the Mini-Bugout, although certainly that could change as the Mini-Bugout breaks in. So the only question left, of course, is which knife would you choose to carry? If you appreciate the slightly heftier build, as well as the added protection of the Mini-Griptilian, you've certainly got a ton of great options in terms of handle colors and blade shapes to choose from, and it's going to be a solid choice. But if ultralight is your thing and getting the maximum amount of utility out of the smallest amount of space in your pocket, the Mini-Bugout is hard to ignore. Make sure you let us know which knife you'd choose in the comments, and if you want to get your hands on either of them, we're going to leave links in the description that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're over there, I always recommend signing up for our Knife Rewards program. I'm not just hawking it because I work here. It really is fantastic, because if you're going to spend money on one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.